Hi, I'm Coach Kristin Wodrich. I'm the head women's basketball coach at the University of Indianapolis. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about establishing roles and establishing relationships with not only your players, but your staff, and how important that is um, when you're leading a program. I think that that's the first thing that you need to really do. I think a lot of times as head coaches, we go into meetings or we go into seasons and, we want to establish a concept. Like we want them to see us as the head coach instead of wanting them to see us as a person, and establishing that relationship. But then also when you have that relationship, there's a trust. And when you're going over different roles, they have to trust you and that you're telling them what their role is what's going to be the best for the program. So some of the things that I do, first off, is my staff. I think it's just as important to communicate those things with your staff as it is with your players. So what we do is we do something called True Colors personality test. So I try to find out what personalities kind of, what my staff has, and there's different colors. So there's blue, there's orange, there's gold, and there's green. So I'm a high blue. And not a lot of head coaches are high blue. So a high blue is someone who's very relational. They really like relationships. They value unity. They value doing things together as a team. They like to talk things out. They think before they act a lot of times. And that's me. So for me, I don't want to surround myself with a bunch of blues, because then that just wouldn't even us out. So what I try to do is, and even if someone is, a gold first and then a blue, or an orange and then a blue, it really kind of helps to manage that. So what I do is I try to surround myself with, different people, and that's kind of how I go about establishing roles. So if I have someone on staff who's a high gold, they're very organized, they like being task oriented, things of that nature, I might give them more of, travel. Or in someone who's orange, who's a risk taker, who likes to get out there, who likes to talk to people. So usually they're really loud, the oranges, but you need those people on your staff and in your team. And a lot of times they do a lot of recruiting, because they're out there and they're not afraid to talk to people and things of that nature. So that's how we kind of establish roles at UIndy within our staff. I kind of see what their strengths are. And a lot of times as a head coach, we want people that are like us, but we want to find people that are good at what we're not good at, so then they can fill in those gaps. And you got to communicate that. A lot of times people, they don't know what their duties are. They don't know exactly what they're supposed to do a lot of days. And so I'm really big on communication. I think communication eliminates unnecessary mistakes. And you have to tell them what their jobs are. Like, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it. And just don't give someone a task and then not teach them how to do it, because then a lot of times they'll bring it back to you and they don't know what they're doing. So I think it's extremely important to be communicating with your staff, to telling them how you like things, but also to establish those roles. I know Jason and I were talking about using the word role. A lot of times it's a negative connotation when everybody needs to play their part. Playing around with the word impact, like, what's your impact? Everyone has a different impact, but just as important as any other one. And with that being said, going on to our players, establishing their roles. One thing I keep telling them is, in season is to accept that role. Out of season is to change that role. Once we're in season, you need to accept that role, and whatever that is, your impact or your part, is, we're talking about different words. You need to take that and be the best in that role, because they're just as important. But when we establish those roles with our players, I think you need to be honest. You need to communicate with them. You need to meet in person, and you need to tell them what you expect from them and how you expect them to do that, and also the importance of it. But once you give them that part or that impact, you have to keep going back to that. You have to keep going back and explaining how they're important and why they're important, and giving them credit. Too many times we tell someone, we need you to be rebounding for us and taking shots. And then this player, they're more of a practice player. And then once we tell them they're more of a practice player and they're kind of third string, we quit telling them that. We quit talking them through that and why they're there. You have to continue to talk to them throughout the season. So I think one thing with us is we kind of split the kids up, and we're making sure that we're connecting with them in different ways every week or two, just so we don't get in the middle of the season and this kid hasn't been talked to, or they don't know where they're at. And that happens a lot. Kids a lot of times will come in and say, "Hey, coach, I don't know my role." And so I have to self-evaluate what I've done. Have I talked to them enough? Have I said enough? You know, have I communicated well enough? And if I have, a lot of times it's kids know what their role is. They don't want to accept it. So they're going to keep coming in and asking. But you have to communicate. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations with them of what their part is on the team and what their impact is. The other thing is making sure your captains are constantly communicating with everyone on their team the importance of their role. So we'll have captains. I have captains meeting once a week. I will go with our captains, explaining to them the importance of talking to their teammates, tell them who needs to be talked to that week, who might need a little bit of extra love. I got love in the background right now, just because that's important. If you don't feel valued, if you don't feel loved, then you're not going to want to put all your effort into, you know, being that impact or playing that role that you've been given. So I think communicating with your captains as well and telling them, you know, what you expect from them, and then having them go talk to everybody else on the team. So those are just a few of the things that we do at UIndy. We have a lot of kind of hierarchy meetings. So me talking to the staff and the staff going out and talking to certain kids, me talking to the captains and the captains, you know, going and talking to certain players and things of that nature. I think it's really important as a head coach that you can't talk to everybody every single day. You just can't spread yourself that much. I think I made a huge mistake early on trying to do that, but you want to touch your players as much as you can. That's kind of those are the things that we do. We try to communicate the best that we can, eliminate any negativity that might come from lack of communication. And that's, if you do have any questions, please let me know. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.